Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Carson Dean, founder of Carson Dean Consulting, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to something deeply meaningful, profoundly impactful, and long overdue. This is the Homeless Solutions Podcast, where housing is treated as a human right, and we explore how individuals and communities are working every day to end homelessness and housing instability. Episodes launch soon, about every other week, and with conversations that inform, inspire, and challenge how we think about solutions. So, what do you think this podcast is about? Well, all across our communities, there are people dedicating their lives to ending homelessness. They are professionals on the front lines of service, volunteers in neighborhoods large and small, and advocates in legislative halls. In other words, everyday citizens who have found themselves doing this work and simply refuse to accept homelessness as inevitable. This podcast isn't just about statistics or policy, it's about people behind the solutions. Who are they? What brought them into this field? What keeps them going when the work feels impossible? We'll share their stories and through them, your story too. Whether you're a seasoned provider, a volunteer, someone with lived experience, or someone who cares deeply but doesn't know where to start, this podcast is for you. So why now? Well, right now, so many of our systems are strained. The pandemic left lasting impacts. Affordable housing is harder to come by. Services are stretched thin, and the big picture can feel overwhelming. But everywhere, even in the toughest communities, people are finding pathways forward. They're creating collaborative networks, sharing best practices, mobilizing communities, and building systems that work. That's the heartbeat of the Homeless Solutions Network, a community of service providers, advocates, stakeholders, and creative problem solvers working together every day to tackle this challenge from every angle. Carson Dean Consulting is proud to be the sponsor of the Homeless Solutions Network. So it's not going to be just about talk, but also about practical solutions. Each episode will dive into real work happening now. We'll talk about things like what works in shelters and housing programs, how providers and volunteers build trust on the front lines, community partnerships that turn systems upside down, legal and policy levers that actually impact lives, practices and tools that you can take with you and use immediately. This podcast isn't just another talk show. It's a practical resource. You'll leave each episode with ideas you can act on, insights you can share, and a deeper understanding of the people and systems that are moving us towards real, lasting solutions. So who are you going to hear from? Well, on the Homeless Solutions Podcast, I'll be talking with frontline professionals, community volunteers, policymakers and advocates, people with lived experience, innovators with new ideas. Some of these will be familiar faces, and some of them are people with higher profiles, but a lot of them are going to just be people who are doing the work every day, like you and I. Each guest will bring their unique perspective, and together we'll uncover what it truly takes to support people in crisis, help them find stability, and ultimately to end homelessness as we know it. Because homelessness isn't a problem solved by one person, one organization, or one sector. It's a challenge we must take on together. So you're going to hear some stories from different individuals, like the caseworker who found success in just being her authentic self, the volunteer who found her calling while serving meals on a rainy night, the advocate who moved policy at the state level, one conversation at a time. You'll hear from people with lots of different perspectives and lots of different backgrounds, doing common work, but in doing it in a variety of ways. And you'll hear very real reflections on what it means to walk beside someone in crisis with dignity, purpose, and hope. So what makes this podcast different? Well, we all know there are documentaries, reports, training videos, and plenty of headlines about homelessness. But what's missing until now is a space that centers the human stories, connects practice with purpose, builds bridges between knowledge and action, champions the idea that housing is not a privilege, it's a human right. That's our starting point. because we believe that everyone deserves a safe place to call home. Well, who is this podcast for? Well, it's really for everyone, but maybe more specifically, it's for community leaders and service providers, people working in the field at all levels, volunteers and donors, students and educators, people with lived experience, and really anyone who believes that people matter more than pavement. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the scale of homelessness, or if you've ever asked, what can I do? This podcast is for you. So here's what you'll expect each episode. Honest conversations that go beyond service answers. We're going to dig deeper so you'll actually get to know the people that are doing the work. Practical advice you can use right away. Inspiration drawn from real work and real results. A deepened understanding of the systems and people changing lives. Each episode is about 45 minutes long. That's perfect for your commute, a walk, or taking a moment of reflection. You'll be able to find us anywhere you listen to podcasts and on social media. We tend to be on LinkedIn more than the others, where we'll share show notes, resources, and ways you can get involved. By the way, you'll be able to link to us at carsondeanconsulting.com and as a member of the Homeless Solutions Network. You know, if housing is a human right, and we know that housing should be a human right, then ending homelessness is not just a goal, it's our shared mission. So join me and join a community committed to learning, listening, and acting together. Subscribe to the Homeless Solutions Podcast. It'll be available soon, because the work to end homelessness doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in community. This is the Homeless Solutions Podcast, launching soon. Let's listen, let's learn, let's act together.